Hello, welcome to the Kalevala Day 2021. I'm Kasha Breau, and I am going to be talking about the Kanteles and the Kantele stories. My friends John Kalinowski and Mickey Koth are here also performing with me. The making of the first Kantele begins early in Runo 39 on the expedition to Northland, Pohjola, to retrieve the Sampo from Louhi, who has locked away under 9 locks and its roots deep into the earth. The 3 heroes, Väinämöinen, Ilmarinen, and Lemminkäinen, take a boat and decide to go upriver. In Runo 40, Väinämöinen guides the great ship through the rapids and over the waterfall without any scratches being made to the vessel. However, the boat runs aground on the back of a giant pike. Lemminkäinen and Ilmarinen plead with Väinämöinen for his magical assistance because they could not kill the giant pike. With his mighty sword, he takes it and cleaves it into the pike and shatters it into pieces. The bones are shattered everywhere and the flesh is over the landscape. Väinämöinen orders the pike's front portion to be cooked and its bones to be made useful. However, nobody seems to be able to find a use for any of the fish bones. So Väinämöinen endeavors to make a magnificent harp. He must have been the first person to recycle something. The jaws of the pike for the body, and the teeth for the pegs, and the hair of Hisi's gelding for the strings. It was a thing of great beauty and the pride of Väinämöinen. But the first Kantele is lost in the battle in the water on his way home from stealing the Sampo. I have a little Kantele here that has horsehair on it, and the strings are different widths. There are a certain amount of horsehairs for each type of string. And I had difficulty getting the horsehair. This was probably in April or May that I went and called 4 different places to see if I could get some horsehair. And no one wanted to give me even a small amount of horsehair to experiment with making horsehair strings. One place did say they might give me a few hairs. I think that I could have used Väinämöinen's magical spells of trying to get some hairs. So I went to the stable and they gave me the horsehair from some red, one of the red horses, some from the white horse, and some from the black horse. So I had 3 different colored hairs on here and different widths. I washed them, dried them, and made them into strings and put them on here so you can hear what this sounds like. And that's the story of the horsehair Kantele. The second Kantele that Väinämöinen made, after losing his first, he was very sad about that. He went into the woods to take a walk, and there was one lone birch tree, grieving, crying and weeping. And Väinämöinen says to him, "Why are you weeping?" And he says that their people would come and take the birch bark off of him to use for fires. They would cut his branches to use for the sauna slapping. And Väinämöinen consoles him. And the birch tells him, and he tells the birch that he will make something beautiful of him. He hollows out the birch for the body and the pegs, and he uses some acorns for those pegs, and then he uses the strings from a lovely maiden he sees in the meadow sitting on a rock, just whiling away the time. He uses his magical spells to obtain the strands of hair that he needs to make for the Kantele. Give me, maiden, of your hair, a few long strands for my joyance giver. And she willingly gives to him some of the hair for his joyance giver, for his Kantele. When the Kantele is complete, Väinämöinen sits down on a rock and puts the Kantele on his knees and his fingers to the strings, and every wild beast of the woodlands comes. The people come running to hearken to the music, to the wonder of the joyance, to the sound of the Kantele. This is a little birch Kantele that I made in August of 1985. I attended a workshop that was making harps up in northern Maine in the way that they made them 2,000 years ago, in carving out a block of wood on the inside and then putting a top on it and then making the instrument for a harp. I finished my harp in about 4 days of carving out the cavity and doing all of the woodwork on it. And the harp maker suggested that I take the small birch blank that they had, the birch block, which was too small for a harp. And he said, why don't you make a Kantele? And of course, it's the same question that most people will ask me. What is a Kantele? And so that is where my interest in the Finnish culture and music began, in the making of this little instrument. And it is made out of birch, and the strings are not from some young maiden's hair, neither mine nor anybody else, but it does have silver strings on it, which are steel strings. And that's the story of the 5-string birch Kantele. About a year ago, I went looking for another 5-string Kantele to see if there was anybody who might have one that would be able to, that I could purchase. And there was somebody in Europe who had one and sold it to me. And that is this little instrument, which is a 5-string, it wants to speak, a 5-string Kantele by Pekka Lovikka. And this is a lovely little instrument. It has an open back, so it's usually played on a table, but it can be played on the lap. And so this is the Lovikka. You can hear that it's a little bit more brilliant.